All right, Cancer. So this week from Lay Vampire, you pulled Immortal, the consuming family, and pressure of peers. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled Renewal. Now, the blessing with Immortal says that you are beyond the definitions of the family or of the peers of an adopted family. You are more than they say you are, more than they allow you to be, more than you have permitted yourself to be when in their orbit. And then working with this card says, remember, you are your own person. You can create your own life. You are free and obligations can now fall away. And then looking at that with renewal, I think for some of you, there is going to be an ending happening within certain family dynamics. I don't necessarily feel like there's going to be an ending to relationships, though for some of you, it may be possible within family units. But basically what it's saying is that you're done with that. But then also there is like a bigger ending that's happening for you. But, again, it leads into a new beginning that you may not be seeing. So renewal, the inspiration says that what appears to be an end may not be one after all. This may turn into a remarkable opportunity. Trust that whatever is coming is better than what you have known to this point. The personal question says, am I positive in the face of change or defeated? Am I ready to step into the new me? The key ideas are sourcing from a more beneficial place, feeling in the dark, change in circumstances, and unexpected blessings. So I do think that for a lot of you, there's going to be a sense of renewal within yourself when you start being more active in creating your own life. It could be one of those situations where you have people around you that, have their own way of thinking of how you should be living and what you should be doing with your life, but truly it is up to you. But again, renewal is saying that what is coming now is going to be better than what you have known before, which is good to see. All right, Cancer, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. Yeah, needing to move away from conflict. You, Pisces, and Scorp, I don't know what's going on with water signs, but the energy feels like really blah around these readings this week. The Six of Swords is your signifier. For me, when I look at it, I feel a little bit of sadness because it's one of those things where you didn't expect to have to do this. It is coming out of the Five of Swords. But it is asking you to move into a more calmer emotional situation for yourself. Oh, and in the past, the Wheel of Fortune. So maybe going through some new cycles in your life, timing, right timing, divine timing, destiny and fate, the turning of the wheel and good things happening. But the thing for me with the wheel is that, these are cycles, repeating cycles. But it's saying that this time again, something is changing here for the better for you. And in the present, the Four of Pentacles, and that's the problem. The wheel can't turn for you if you're still hanging on to things that you need to let go of, clearly. That is my first question. Every time I see the Four of Pentacles, is what is it that you're holding on so tightly to? The Four of Pentacles definitely suggests, the initial start of some financial stability. It's saying that this isn't something that you're willing to let go of. The other thing too is if you're hanging on to something, you may feel like you're stuck in a situation, but it's simply needing to let go. And really needing to go with the flow of what is happening here. Oh, jeez. Future conditions, the Knight of Swords. My problem with this for Cancer is it's not good when Cancer lets their emotions get the best of them and you get to the point here where you become harsh with your communication and you may become rash with the decisions that you make. And it may be because you've been through some difficulties looking at the Six of Swords that you're trying to get away from. The other part of it though too, looking at it, it could just be you not really worried about what is in front of you, where the path is going to lead or what obstacles you're going to have to deal with. You're just going. Again, there's that feeling of, boom, I'm gone. But, again, you have to be careful. Be careful about the way that you're communicating. Be careful about doing anything rash or quick, especially with this feeling of the Six of Swords, because it almost feels like you're trying to move into a better situation, but maybe you're doing it a little bit too quickly here, and there are things that need to be worked out. They always say that the journey is more important than the destination, and if you're carrying stuff with you then going super fast through this process is not going to be the right thing to do. Your best path to follow, the Three of Cups. So, when you're talking about immortal and you're looking at the pressure of peers or family, this could simply be you needing to surround yourself with people who do support you and support the decisions that you're making. I'm seeing the Three of Cups a lot this week, and it seems to be this feeling of, in most cases, where your support system, your group of friends, the people who actually give a shit about what happens to you, are the people that are going to be there for you. It's almost like everybody just needs to help each other out, basically. But this is saying that, pay attention to, like maybe what your friends are telling you and be open to maybe their point of view on your situation. Because again, these are the people that actually care about you. And they may be the ones that are going to help you kind of go through this process and helping you understand that you have to let go of some stuff. In your environment, the Queen of Swords. My problem with this is, for you, Cancer, I really do see this as a person that is in your environment. And this could be, somebody that you are hanging on to, but maybe you need to let this go. That, or let go of harsh communication. It's almost like if you're dealing with issues within a relationship, now it's time to release that kind of crap and start moving into a calmer situation. Because if you are in a relationship, whenever I see the swords show up with what's happening here, it's kind of like it signals a difficulty within the relationship, because typically the Queen of Swords is looked at as the divorced woman, the single woman, right? She's very sharp, but she's been through some pain before, which could also speak to the energy that is around you. Now, if this is a friend in your environment, then definitely I would pay attention to whatever advice is coming through, because, she may have been through the situation that you've been through before, he or she. But, what they have to say is going to be pretty clear-cut and to the point and logical. And it may help you, especially if you get into, this feeling here where you're just wanting to go. But maybe you need to slow down and listen to like some other viewpoints here. I've always said that earth signs are really great people to get advice from. But, when it comes to dealing with the sword energy here, I think the Queen of Swords, typically this person would be pretty, clear cut with their communication, and they're pretty sharp and logical. They don't let emotions get in the way of, what they think is the logical solution for the problem. And for you, it's hanging on to things when you need to move away from it. Because again, that Six of Swords would not be there if that were the case. If things were okay for you, it wouldn't be a situation where you're feeling like you need to move away from conflict and wanting to do it like right now, like you're done with it. But, you can't really expect to see anything change here if you're not willing to let go. And then for some of you, again, it could be, the person that's in your environment that you need to release as well. And it may be somebody who thinks that you should be doing a certain thing or living your life a certain way with immortal, but your hopes and your fears, it is a fear, right? Fear of moving forward. You're trapping yourself mentally. And it worries me, because I get the feeling that for some of you, you don't know which way to go. And mentally, I don't think you're in a very good spot. There's no reason to ever fear your path, right? But I can understand with this one. I think you're blocked mentally because you may have been, put through a lot, and you're wanting to move into a calmer situation, but I think maybe moving along a little bit too fast and needing to release some things first before you start moving here into a calmer situation. But I do see this as a good thing. The Queen of Swords, it teeters for me. I feel like I'm talking to some of you who are feeling this way right now, For others, I feel like there's a situation with a person who, may not be the best for you that you need to let go of just because of the connection here, and then seeing this as your signifier, and then seeing her connected with the Wheel of Fortune. This could be a situation here too where you're letting go of the conflict surrounding a relationship with a person. But either way, with the Eight of Swords, it's not good because you're just stopping yourself. I think you know better because you're pulling on this energy here of wanting to go. But I think all the way around, communication is blocked for you. And maybe that's where, you need to pay attention to what, the people that are closest to you have to say, the people that actually care, right? And then the outcomes. So you're not really doing anything. You're not really doing anything. Things are changing for you. You're getting ready to hit a new cycle, but I think it's hard for you to see the good that's going to come out of this because you're in a spot here with the Hangman where you just don't know. You don't know what decisions to make or what actions you need to start taking. And maybe that's a good thing. Because if you continue to act in the way that you have in the past, the wheel isn't going to turn for you. I mean, good things are not going to happen here. But this is a situation where I think this is something that you've dealt with before. And, now is the time for you to start getting some mental clarity. And maybe the Hangman is a good thing where you just kind of take a time out here to really see the whole situation. And be able to see things from a different perspective before you start acting. Because you don't want to do something that you're going to regret. But, the energy for me looking at it, I worried that you're going to do something and you're not really truly letting go of the things that you need to let go of. And really, where are you moving forward to? You're not clear on that at all. With the Hangman, the Six of Swords, the Knight of Swords, there's no clarity on where you're moving to. I would hope that you kind of get, some mental clarity here with the Hangman coming out, especially with the Six of Swords being your signifier. I mean, you realize the conflict is over with, and whether or not you're dealing with a person, either way, you can't, decide to take action if you haven't dealt with things first. And I really do think that for some of you, you do have people around you that do have something of importance to say. But then again, you can't, allow people to tell you how you should be living your life though either. Again, with Immortal showing up, you have the right to create your own life the way that you choose. End of story. That's just all there is to it. But, again, with renewal, for a lot of you, it seems like when you're looking at the Wheel of Fortune, you're going through this ending. And this may have been something that you've been through before. The cycle is repeating itself, but, you're not really taking the time that's necessary for you to do, what you need to let go of the mental blockage so you can get that clarity and that mental clarity. Cancer, damn it. I thought things were going to be different for you, but I'm seeing some difficult stuff. I'm looking at the Three of Cups though, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that, these people are going to understand that you're going to live your life the way that you choose. They cannot control you and what you decide to do, but, maybe they can give like some helpful advice. But really, it's up to you on whether or not you're taking it because, I see you taking this whole journey alone, but you're needing to have some mental clarity through this situation. It almost has a feeling of like, what the hell? I'm going through this again, damn it, and just wanting to quickly get through this nonsense. But, it's going to be one of those processes where moving along at a fast pace without actually dealing with anything is not going to help you. You'll just stay stuck mentally. But I do think that you realize that by the end of the week looking at the Hangman. Abundance, which is good to see. And then clarity, clarity, clarity. Absolutely, that's perfect. Purpose, what is your purpose? What is the purpose of what you're going through? And I do think that, there's going to be an abundance of clarity for you coming out of this situation, but abundance all around. Abundance doesn't have to be wealth. This is abundance spiritually, in the physical. there's going to be a good amount of abundance when it comes to the needing of clarity through the situation. And then when you understand what the purpose is of this whole situation, again, you'll start to feel some more abundance of better things. Man, Cancer, though, this one, I'm glad clarity showed up, because that's exactly what you need. And definitely you need an abundance of it. But more importantly, you need to understand what the purpose was of all of this. Make the effort. Great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. So for those of you who are just changing course in life when it comes to meeting somebody new, you are going to have to be the one to make the effort here. But again, you'll be guided to take those right steps. It won't be a situation where you're going to be stuck in limbo, not knowing what to do. Oof, codependency addictions are affecting your romantic life. All right, Cancer. What I worry about with you is emotional codependency more than I do actual addictions like drugs and alcohol. But if that is the case, now is the time to start healing yourself or helping your partner to heal, whatever the case may be. But I worry about emotional dependency. You have to be careful about that. You don't want to be so emotionally attached to somebody who is not giving it back to you. And you don't want to be dependent on them to the point where, if you're not receiving it back, that it breaks you either. I just kind of worry about that. But either way, there's going to need to be some healing within a relationship. And I think that, Cancer, it's going to be up to you to make the effort here to start doing that. But, I'm sorry, Cancer, this one feels a little bit heavy, but I do think that, you will get some clarity. I don't think that you should be taking any action to do anything until you have that mental breakthrough before you start moving or deciding to act. All right, Cancer, so I don't know what it is with water signs this week, but it seems like all three of us are having, really difficult times. I mean, Pisces and Scorpio, you're not the only one going through some bad stuff. Cancer, I feel like looking at this that you're going through a repeating cycle. And I think maybe, I almost see this in the reverse, honestly, with what's happening here. I think this is a situation here where you're trying to move away from some conflict, but you're doing it in a self-defeating way. Because you're hanging on to things that you need to let go of. And you really do need some mental clarity here with the Eight of Swords. There's no reason to ever fear moving forward. But for you, I think it's just a mental block that you're hanging on to. And then when you're looking at the Knight of Swords, again, the journey is more important than the destination. But the thing is when you're looking at the Six of Swords, this is typically when you're looking at it, they're in the boat and they're moving into different shores. But the swords are still in front of them, meaning that they're still carrying that pain from the past. And that's something that you need to work through, and you eventually get to that calmer situation for yourself, especially a calmer emotional situation. And then the other thing too is if you're looking at conflict, I do think that maybe that's something that you need to let go of. When it comes to a relationship specifically, you need to let go of hanging on to conflicting issues. And then, looking at the Queen of Swords, I kind of get the feeling that, this could be the person that you're in a relationship with, that you need to let go of whatever conflict is going on. Because anytime I see swords, and when you're talking about relationships, it says a difficult one. Because when you're looking at sword energy, typically the whole, through the pips into the court cards is all difficulty. I mean, there's a few exceptions, but... And then looking at the Three of Cups, I do think that for some of you, this may be somebody that knows what you're going through and may have some really good advice. And I do think with the position that it showed up in, that they actually give a shit about what's happening to you. And that seems to be the big thing this week with a lot of the other readings. The Three of Cups keeps showing up. And I feel like, it's one of those things where we just need to support each other, right? And you need to find your support group, the people that give a shit about you, that you are able to communicate these things with. They're going to be the ones that may have, the best advice for you when it comes to moving forward. Because again, the Queen of Swords, she's been through that shit, right? Now, on the other hand, when it comes to Immortal, I do, very much with this card say that you have the right to create your life the way that you choose. Nobody else gets to say what you do and what you ultimately decide for yourself. But the problem is if you're blocked mentally and you're not really sure which way you're going or what you need to do, then maybe seeking advice is not, a bad idea. It's just you have to remember that ultimately it's going to be your decision because it is your life and what you are going through. Now, when you're looking at purpose, what was the purpose of going through this was immediately what came to me here. It is about finding your purpose, your true purpose, which is great. But I think your understanding needs to come with what was the purpose of going through this again? Because again, I feel like with the Wheel of Fortune, you've been through this shit before, but you're doing it again. Things need to change this time. And then the abundance of clarity is so good to see. And that to me is saying that, yes, the Hangman is, and I'm sorry to say this, is exactly where you need to be. Don't make any quick decisions, and don't make any quick decisions to take action either, because I don't see this as a good action card. You have to be careful about how you are communicating and wanting to move through things too quickly without actually working through the stuff that you're hanging on to, that you need to let go of. Now, when it comes to relationships, for those of you who are single, you're going to have to be the one to make the effort here, but you're going to be guided to do this. It's not going to be one of those things where you're questioning on whether or not should I or should I not do this. You will know because you will be guided to do it. For those of you who are in a relationship, this worries me, codependency. Whatever addictions are going on, it is time to start healing yourself and healing your partner. And you are going to be the one that's going to have to make the effort. I think this goes both ways. And it doesn't necessarily have to be drugs and alcohol. For some of you, absolutely can be the case. But Cancer, I would be careful about being emotionally codependent. You don't want to be in that kind of situation, especially if you're dealing with somebody who, and it's possible, may have a little bit of emotional detachment for what you are going through. Now, on the other hand, with codependency too, though, you, again, have to be careful about when you're looking at being dependent on conflict, because that's not normal within a relationship either. And the only reason why I say that is because of the Four of Pentacles. But either way, Cancer, I do think that the Hangman is where you need to be. Before you decide to do anything and before you decide to take any action, give yourself some time to just chill out so that you can get some clarity, that abundance of clarity. That way you know for sure what it is that you need to do for you to create your life the way that you choose.